Welcome to this Oracle interview series. So in the last shorts video I just asked one question about multiple literal SQLs and what will be the solution from the database end. Okay, so in this video we'll just see the solution in quite we'll just see in a detailed manner. Okay, so there are two solutions for this. Okay, one is using bind variables from the application end. Okay, so here there is no action from the DBA. Okay, you just need to recommend application team saying that we are seeing multiple literal SQLs, but in a real-time production system this is not the standard way of executing the SQLs without any bind variables, because this is not how Oracle works internally, right? So it's currently Oracle is evolving with more advanced way of handling the issues. So if any legacy applications are used, then definitely there will be multiple SQLs which may. So let me just show you that. So in the previous shorts video, if you just see that video, then you will be understanding the question. So now I just executed almost 1000 SQLs with multiple literal values. Okay, so here if you see, there are a lot of different SQL IDs. Okay, but if you see the SQL text until the predicate before the equal symbol, if you see, all these SQLs are pretty much similar. Okay, only the number is different, right? So Oracle just wondered if it can find some solution to share all these SQLs in the shared pool, because yeah, obviously when you see a similar pattern, okay, but with only minor difference, then there should be some way of finding a solution for this, right? So if the SQL is completely different, then that is different case. Okay, if you see everything are same, there are no spaces, only after the equal symbol the number, the actual value that we are specifying, that is only different. And also we already know that the SQL ID will change even if there is a single space or if there is a difference in the SQL text. So here obviously the numbers are different, so the SQL IDs will be completely different. Okay, so here if you see, Oracle has to generate additional SQL ID, right? So it has to generate additional hash value, additional SQL ID. So Oracle has to hard parse the SQL, right? So it has to go into syntax check, semantic check, shared pool check, and all these checks, and Oracle cannot reuse the code. Oracle has to recreate the code internally for processing all these SQLs. Okay, so that's why bind variables were introduced. Okay, but even using bind variables have their own challenges, like execution plan issues, right? So for that reason, Oracle had introduced bind variable peaking and adaptive cursor sharing and all these features. Okay, but but still if we use literal values, then this is completely parsing issue. But if we use bind variables, then that is completely the correct execution plan issue, right? So Oracle cannot determine the correct execution plan when bind variables are used, so Oracle had to use other features. So let us focus on the literal issue. So this is where Oracle can use bind variables, right? So either application has to use for the bind variables. So that is the standard way of writing the code from the application end, but we cannot guarantee that every applications would be written in that expected manner. Okay, so some legacy applications may be having literal values as well. So that's why Oracle has given the flexibility to the DBAs to control it from the database end. So that is cursor sharing parameter. Okay, so cursor sharing parameter changes the behavior of how Oracle sees all these SQLs internally. Okay, so if application user forget to use the bind variables in the code, then DBA don't have to do anything else. Okay, DBA does not need to DBA don't have access to change the SQL, right? So only thing is internally Oracle can handle how it sees the numbers. So if you just set this parameter cursor sharing to force, then how Oracle sees these numbers as bind variables. Okay, so if you see these numbers like 1 2 3 4 5, Oracle will completely convert that number into sys underscore some b naught or something like that. So if you see this notation, right, so this is kind of an identifier which Oracle internally uses to create a bind variable. So it will be something like this colon. Okay, so always the bind variable notation starts with the colon followed by the bind variable value, right? So this is how we can handle the issue from the database end. So whenever you are seeing multiple SQL statements with the same SQL text, but only the after equality predicate value is different, then you need to think about using cursor sharing. Okay, and always we need to think twice before we apply this parameter, because this parameter can be set at the session level or system level, but in real-time production systems, setting this at the session level does not have any use, or it's completely useless, because DBA does not have control on the application sessions. Then how you will set it at the session level? Obviously, either you need to tell the application team to use the bind variable, or if you cannot change the code, you have to tell them to use cursor sharing to force at the session level when he is executing the job, right? So if it is only a set of jobs or only a single job, then you can tell them to set it at the session level to force and execute the job. Or if application team does not completely have control over it, then DBA has to set the cursor sharing to force at the database end. So there are no other ways. Otherwise, they have to face the performance slowness. Okay, so there are also other ways to handle this issue, but currently I'm not going in depth on the other. So we can say indirect way. So this is the direct way of handling this issue. Okay, so now what I will do is, let me just flush the shared pool. So before we set the cursor sharing to force, we need to flush the shared pool. Okay, so if the production system, we need to do it in non-peak hours of the database, because this will cause some temporary slowness, because the cache will be completely flushed from the the shared pool contents will be completely flushed to the disk. Then obviously all the new contents needs to be again rewritten by Oracle, so obviously there will be a temporary slowness. So currently I'm just going to set the cursor sharing to force. So by default the value of cursor sharing will be exact. Okay, so exact means exact match. Okay, so here if you see the SQLs are having different literal values, so it will exactly check for sharing the cursor. So in the shared pool, right? So if in the shared pool, why hard parsing issues happen? Because of the sharing limitations, right? Because if you just set the exact, then exactly it will see whether the SQL text are matching. But if you set it to force, then Oracle have one internal algorithm. What it will do is, it will just scan only the literal values wherever it sees multiple SQL statements with so there are some signatures. Okay, so if you see in $SQL, there are exact matching signature and force matching signature. So these values determine whether how Oracle can share the SQL statements which are executed on the database. Okay, so yeah, currently these SQLs are removed. So let me again re-execute the SQL. So if you see, the exact matching signature is different, but force matching signature is same, right? So this has multiple other things to be explained, but to be simple, if Oracle forces the match for all these SQLs, right? So only the text is similar, okay, but all the numbers are different. So obviously the exact matching signature will not be same. Okay, so based on the signature, Oracle determines whether the SQLs can be shared or not. So now let us go to the solution. Let me just set the cursor sharing to force, but before that again let me flush the shared pool, because when you don't flush the shared pool, then you will again Oracle will not use the settings, cursor sharing to force settings. Okay, unless we flush the shared pool, then only Oracle will use the cursor sharing to force settings. Okay, this will be effective only when you flush the shared pool. So now let me just execute the SQLs again. Okay, so since I executed all these SQLs using PL SQL procedure, again Oracle is not sharing this, but let me just make it simple. Okay, so let me execute two different SQLs. Okay, sometimes using PL SQL procedure may not be completely helpful, so we need to execute them manually. Okay, so now if you see, there are 1002 values, so still Oracle is not sharing those SQLs. Okay, so this is because again I need to flush the shared pool for the cursor sharing to be effective. Okay, so now it should work. So now if you see, there is only one SQL ID. Okay, but if you see the SQL text, similar to what I mentioned here, right, colon sys underscore b naught. So likewise, you don't see any number here. So similar to this, you are seeing something like sys underscore b naught. And if you see, both exact matching signature and force matching signature are same. Okay, so this is how Oracle Oracle internally sees the different SQLs with different literal values. So whatever SQL that I execute, right, so every SQLs will be taken as the same SQL. Okay, Oracle will not see all these SQLs as different. So this is how Oracle shares all the SQLs. Okay, so yeah, whatever value you can execute, Oracle will share the SQL. Okay, so here exact matching signature is same for all the SQLs that we executed. So almost we executed 5 SQL statements, but I'm not sure where did this 866 came from, because it is this SQL is not shared, okay, due to some reason. So we need to find the reason why this is not shared. So that is out of the scope of this video. But if you see, the remaining 4 SQLs are executed, okay, but you don't see a different SQL IDs like this. You have only one SQL ID, and both exact matching and force matching signature are same, right? So here Oracle shared all the SQLs with only one SQL ID. So Oracle don't need to again and again recreate the SQL IDs, regenerate the hash values, and again Oracle don't need to hard parse all the SQLs. Oracle shared all these different value SQLs into only one bind variable SQL. So this is how when application uses the bind variable, Oracle share the SQL. But if application cannot do the application cannot share the SQL, then we can take it from the DBA side. Okay, so if you see, child cursors are only 2. So if you would have seen in the previous session, the previous shorts video, there were 1000 child cursors. Or let me do one thing. Let me again re-execute the procedure. So now if you see, there are almost 1000 child cursors for the procedure. Okay, so when I execute this with PL/SQL procedure, Oracle is not able to share the cursor due to some reason. But when I executed all these SQLs manually, Oracle is able to share the cursors. So this is the overhead, extra overhead. So if I don't use cursor sharing or bind variable, then Oracle will have to process 1000 1000 SQLs separately. But if I use cursor sharing, Oracle can share only one code for all the SQLs, and only 2 child cursors are there. Okay, it should be 1, but this 866 is not shared due to some reason. Okay, so yeah, this is the effectiveness of using cursor sharing. And also the number of parses and executions should not be equal always. Okay, there should be less parses but more executions. But in a real-time system, this is not always possible. But using some PL/SQL procedures, this may be effective. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, just like it, and also subscribe. And yeah, if you want more exciting videos and more useful videos, just follow me for